Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unregulated Leadership. I am one of your hosts, Dr. Lavonya Douglas, and we have Myrna here, who is also a student at William James College.
And we have Dr. Ola Olude-Afolabi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, Dr. Ola, we wanted to interview you because, first of all, you have an amazing bio, right? And in this world of AI and technology, like one of the things that we do, the title of the podcast is Unregulated Leadership, because unregulated there's no checkbox, and we are leaders in all of our fields in different places, but it's not always leadership as you would see it. And so we wanted to kind of talk to you because AI is leading this. AI is everywhere at this point. It's on our phones. It's you can create a website now with AI. You can create all type of things with AI. And so we kind of want to bring awareness to it and like talk about it. Also internationally, one of the things that we are looking at is how AI is also influenced internationally. So we want to just ask you a couple questions. And so if you would take a moment to just introduce yourself to our audience and let us know a little bit about who you are, your background, and how you kind of got into this field.
Wow, nice. Thank you so much. My name is Ola Olude-Afolabi. I know the question you asked, it's kind of long. It's short, but has a long answer. So really, I was born here in DC when my parents were going to school. And so when they were done, went back to Nigeria. I was there in Nigeria. And then, so I had all my, my background shaped in Nigeria, my mathematical background, I had high school, some college, almost all college. There's something you call advanced, more like a community college. So I had that, but that's what you will equate into the US, but it's advanced. You call it advanced level education. And then you go to college. Then I was a math education major. And then from there, came to the US. I've been in the US since 93. We had a kind of a long lost aunt in Lincoln, Nebraska. So I was in Nebraska. If you don't know Nebraska, because I remember when I came to New York City, I was like, do you know the way to Nebraska? And they're like, is that in the US? Yes, it is in the US. 9 hours away from Chicago. So I was fortunate to start again after I had finished about 4 years of math education. Started again in computer science, started computer science. And my minor really is African American studies, but nobody ever knew that because I never really write it down. But it's African American studies. So from there, I started working. I was working and at the same time going to school. So I started in 1993 as a computer. Have you ever heard something as computer returns operator? I mean, I know it's a weird, but if I tell you what I did, you'll be so shocked. Back in those days when you have they have something they call junk mail. And so you have to get what they call it, like a blanket and all those things in the mail. So when you return those junk mail, I have to put it back in the system. And so you have a code and you type it in. And so that's where my career started.
Wow.
Think about it now, they will be in the database, right? But you call them computer returns operator. So you do that and finished that through college, finished college. And then eventually I started working for state of Nebraska as a contractor. Then I found a job as a computer systems engineer. with Corning Incorporated. Corning Incorporated, you will know them. They were the ones who did the Corningware dishes, Corning dishes. The kind of regular Corning dishes you buy at the store. And from there, I started working with them. But this time, I worked at the fiber plant where they did fiber, and that is how I got introduced to robots, because they had what they call a robotic arm, and the arm, it's like a heart, a regular arm, but it spins fiber like it spins thread around the spool. So I had to write down programs for those. So I wrote a program it's called Fast Fourier Transform via Mathematician. You will know what that is. Thank God I had those mathematical things that I thought I would throw away after I left Nigeria, and threw away after I left Lincoln, University of Nebraska, Lincoln. I thought I would throw them away, but when I got to Corning, I was told to write those code, and thank God I succeeded. They were a little tough, but I got through. And from there, I went to upstate New York, working for Corning. And during the 9/11, everybody was laid off. I was laid off too. So I had to go back to college to figure out what I'm going to study. And eventually, I started studying AI. One class led to the other. I decided, and one class, try it. I was like, wow, I like this. I rejected the first one. I was told to, but I was like, what does it do? I was like, and they were like, they're going to play God and something. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And so I went to another class. I did the other one. I did the second, the third. I was like, this is getting good. This is getting great. And then I remembered, oh, that one that wants to play God, let me go back to it. So I went back to it, and then I liked that one better. I was like, really? So, and that's how I got into AI, really. I've already got into AI without knowing, walking through it, I liked it. But because of 9/11, and then when I went to college, went back to graduate school, I said I went to college like I was starting, but now it's graduate school, right? By the time I went there, I was able to enjoy the courses better. It's like I knew it, I've worked in it, I've done it. So after doing that, so I graduated in 2010, but in 2008, I got a job, and I started working as an AI patent examiner. So that is where you start giving out patents on AI. And you can tell I did that for 10 years. I did not miss it at all. I did not miss it. I love going to work. This is when you say you love going to work. And so after 10 years of doing that, I left the patent office and moved to the Department of Commerce, where I'm working right now. So that is how I got into AI. And I've always been in AI, and I've always loved it. So thank you.
Wow. When I heard about AI, maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, I thought it was like the best thing since sliced bread. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I felt like, I was like, because nobody else was talking about it. So I felt like I knew something. It's been around for a really long time. So you've known about AI before it actually became like this major thing. Like you had your hands all involved. So when the rest of the world heard about AI, you was like, oh, that's old news. I already know about that stuff. So that's very interesting. Marina, did you have any thoughts?
Yes. For me, it seems like Dr. Ola, you had a journey with science, and then you kind of shift the career to something that you probably not have a full scope of what will be happening, but you find your niche. You really find your core there. And now, when we are looking at your bio, you are really a leader in this technology. Tell us a little bit for our listeners, our viewers. They listen AI, artificial intelligence. What does that imply? Or do we can, when they think about AI, they may think about like a computer, right, receiving data, and then 10,000 more than a human being, incorporate that data, or just like, doing something else. Tell us more a little bit about artificial intelligence. What is it? Or can
So,
or can they implement that, etc., etc.? Tell us more, please.
so when you talk about AI, and I tell people I got into AI. I am a practicing Christian, and let's start that. I'm a very practicing Christian, and I got into AI through practicing Christianity. And you will say, how is that possible? Okay, so when I was growing up, and I knew, as ladies, we get to a point where we're like, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna have children, I'm gonna, develop, I'm gonna get a family, but I need a job. And so I remember, um, I mean, you were young then, maybe you were a teenager. At that time, I was like, Lord, I want a job that I have to take care of the children. I just close my eyes, wake up. I don't even have to read. Let it just pour out of my brain. Just one of those funny ways of praying. Maybe I was maybe 12, 13 then. It's like, Lord, a job where they just wake you up and you're like, what do you want again? Okay, this is this and this. I think, and then I was in Nigeria. And then when I came to the US, and I knew I was going to be a computer scientist from Nigeria, and that was also a long story, more spiritual too, because there were things that I just knew that I couldn't do. I didn't. I I finished school at 14. I finished high school at 14. I went to advanced level I think by the time I was 16. I was done at advanced level. By the time I went to college, I was 18. So, which is very rare in Nigeria, because in Nigeria, people are like either wanting to go for business or something like that. So, when it came this time to discuss about religion, about if you know Nigerian families, you would have heard about Nigerian families. If you had a son, it better be medicine or law. If you had a daughter, is it nursing? There's Nigerian, background. So for me, when they said nursing, nah, I can't be carrying people speak. They said doctor, nah, I can see blood. They said this, you know what I mean? So my dad was like, what kind of a child are you? What kind of a girl is this? Those kind of decisions. So eventually it's like, and by 14 I'd already given my life to God, my life to Christ. So I prayed a lot, and it's like I would have this option, like, okay, you want to know what you want to do, why don't you go and look at the job? So I had a friend in medical school, and she told me that they had to have a cadaver. A cadaver is when they have one dead body to themselves. And the moment she said that, I was like, huh? A dead body in my hand, carry every day? She said, yes. I said, in my spirit, I was thinking, I'm a Christian. I will start praying that thing should die. It should wake up, should arise. Like, I was so young. When you just first give your life to God, I was like, no, 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 no. So we left that conversation. I was like, I can't be a doctor. So that is how it's. So when I came to the US, and I was in computer science, and being in computer science, even before, when I was in Nigeria, my dad was a banker. He went to volunteer. I was sitting outside. Curiosity got me to, back then when you have it's called is it a 4048? The big computer, it will fill the room. I was like, and I just see people wearing lab coats like they're doctors coming out and in. And I just was like, and the room is dark. I'm like, how could you guys be in a dark room wearing white clothes, white gowns, going in back? And they're like, oh, we have a computer. What does it do? It prints Bible. So it was like, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something that would print Bibles. You know what I mean? So I was drawn in that kind of. So when I came to the US, and I was doing computer science, I was into it. I was learning it. And I think if you learn of when there's something they call internet doom, that was when the whole internet crashed. About a year to it. It's like it was when, so we had 9/11, if you remember. And then the internet, right in between the 9/11 and the internet doom, or what they call internet doom, it was when the internet crashed, was when the Lord started moving me to take those classes, those AI classes. And it was really weird because I was like, why these classes? But because it was more math and stats, I was going into it. So when I heard about internet crashing, I was like, what would be our next technology? But what moved me then into those was basically nature. I loved working in the nature with my daughter. By the time I started my graduate school, I had my first daughter then. So I love taking her to walks. I love running. I love gym. But because she was little and I'll push her to the park. And I would look around and I was like, wow. And I would look at her, I would tell her, don't you appreciate those trees, those flowers, those things? So I was thinking, how will I go to graduate school with a child? I mean, I've literally forgotten how to even add two and two together. Think about it. I've had years of experience working. I've left school in 98. We're talking about 2002, 4 years. I cannot even remember how to do any math. And now I'm in an engineering. Think about it. How could you go to an engineering school and not do any math? At least you do calculus. I'd forgotten all of them. I'd forgotten all the math. I've forgotten everything. So I was, just meditating how I would go and do this. But funnily enough, when I was told to go do the classes had to do with, so I think my first class was neural net. Neural network had to do with predicting, right? It had to do with, so one of the classes was, if you really think about neural net, what neural network did, what it is, you will now notice that it was more of nature. And that is how I got into it. And that is how I knew more about it. Nobody will ever describe AI the way I would describe it to them. They will always describe it from the way they knew it. But the way I knew it, or the way the Lord worked with me knowing it, was way different. So when this lady would teach, she would teach from backpropagation, she would teach from neural network. These are very, very math intensive, math detailed things. But when she taught them, it's like the Holy Spirit was teaching me differently. Like, think about, so when I learned math in Nigeria, I learned through analogies. So I'm going to teach you, I'm going to say it through analogies now. So when you look at a neural network, you would think about having 2 cups in your hand, 2 cups, or let's say 1 cup. Let's say the cup is hot, a cup of coffee. What do you do? What do you do to it?
You sip it.
The cup is hot.
You switch it to someone else, or you put it someplace.
You switch it, you bring it out, or you drop it. Let's say you didn't know. You just want to touch the cup, and it came out from the microwave.
Yes.
It came out from the microwave, and you want to touch it, and you figure it out. What do you do?
You drop
it instantly, and that's what a backprop is. A backprop is really mirroring the way it comes from your hand. What I would call backprop, but it's really neural network. It's really machine learning. It's basically you're teaching the computer how you are going to react to something immediately. So that is what that is what machine learning is about. How you're going to pick that cup, and your hands are going to detect that cup. So think about it. You touch the cup, and you don't know, but the neurons in your fingers went fast to your brain, and your brain deciphers the temperature of the cup and says, well, you cannot handle that. And so it comes back with that speed and tells you, drop it. And what you do is drop it. And that's what the machine learning is about. Exactly a word for word. Now, if it's warm to the touch, it says, then it goes back and says, you know what? It's warm to the touch. You can still handle it, but it's not too hot. You can still hold it. And so it goes back straight down and says, yeah, you can still handle it. And that's why you're holding it. And if it's extremely cold, it's like, it's too cold. You can handle it, but then maybe you need to warm it. So what it does is the stuff in your hand, the neurons in your hand goes fast to your brain, and it makes a decision for you. And when it makes that decision, it's what tells you what you need to do with the object in your hands. So if you look at every so first of all, it looks like I had jumped a little bit. I jumped to the type of neural net. Let me tell you what AI is really about. So I'm going to use another analogy. AI is like a car, and the data, or what runs your car, is your gas, and that's your data. So the AI itself, or the engine of the car, is the AI itself. So if you don't have gas in your car, you can't move, can you?
No.
No, you can't.
No.
So that's the data. So if you really think about, the first thing you will hear about any AI is called an ecosystem. An ecosystem. And if you have an ecosystem, the ecosystem has to do with the gas, the car, and the road. If you don't have gas in your car will not move. And if you have the car, you have the gas, you have the car, then your car can move. And then you want to know the kind of road you want to move on, right? So that is how and it's like, I'm being taught at school. And like I said, being a Christian, it was easier for the Holy Spirit to just tell me, this is what you're thinking, and this is what you're being taught, and this is how it's being taught. So when I would move from one analogy to the other. So if you don't have, so just as much as you have different types of data, just as much as you have different types of gas. When I mean gas, you have kerosene, you have kerosene, you have diesel, you have
Gasoline.
petrol, you have gasoline, you have all different types, just as many, so as much as you have different types of data. And now, just as many types of cars. You have Honda, you have Benz, you have, so you have so many types of, just as much as you have so many types of car, you have so many types of AI tools or AI models. So when you get, now, why the road? The road is your problem, right? You have so many types of problems. So, if you take a Benz and you want to drive on a rugged road, you know that you're gonna mess that Benz up. But if you get like one of those trailers, one of those, what should I call them? One of those big tired cars, the rugged ones, and you put it on there, and you want to go to a back, one road at the back of town, you'll be bouncing, you'll be jumping on the car, that you will notice that you will drive on those rugged roads with the right car, with the right tool, so you understand. So that's a regular, simple ecosystem for an AI. You have your data, which is the gas, you have your car, which is the model, and you have the road, which is the problem you're going to solve. So you see how that analogy works? I tell people, when I teach AI, all my students understand it. They really understand it, to the extent that when they go out, they will definitely be able to make a conversation. And remember the other day, I told you I was writing a book, and that's what is in the book. I could almost feel and say, like, wow, I have to read this. That way I can understand, because it's like everyday language of what AI is. So if we start with that simple ecosystem, we would know, we'll be able to make a conversation about how AI is, so that when somebody comes in and is telling you some junk, you'll be like, you could be able to decipher and discern where in the person that person's talking about. So like most times I go and take classes. I'm taking those classes to know what I learned. Is it still the same thing? Because now that AI is everywhere, people are now changing terminologies. And so the terminologies you hear here is not the same thing you hear here. And you're like, is it the same thing? So when I was done, which is in 2017, they started saying machine learning. I'm like, isn't all machine learning? All the machines are learning. What are you talking about? So because machine learning is really a class of AI. So another type of car. So it's just that telling that, oh, a driving car. And don't you drive all cars? Don't all cars move, you know? So that is how machine learning is. So when you move from AI now to specify into the type of cars, that is what you're talking about machine learning. What kind of car am I dealing with? So that's where machine learning start getting complex and start getting different types and start getting, okay, this is the type of machine learning. This one is a type of car for my farm. You know, that's a farm equipment, right? This is the type of car that flies. That's a plane. This is the type of car that is just two-wheel. That's a bicycle. It's still moving, right? That's a bicycle, or it's a motorcycle, or a Benz or a Ferrari. You know, it's just a type of equipment that's moved. So when you know AI from that point of view, then you are much better to not only discuss, you are much better to know what you're talking about. I mean, you can talk with people in technology and say, this is what I want, this is what I need, because you know it's brought down to the lowest literacy of what AI is. I hope it's a long answer to a short question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Ola. But it seems that it is really your thing, because I feel like you are very you are excited, and so thank you so much for those analogies that really help us a little bit understand a little bit what it is, AI, multiple infinite possibilities, but really how to use it and where to use it and when to use it. I'm not an expert, I'm still learning, but one of the I have two more questions for me, but one of them, it's really like some people that I discuss with my children, they said, Mommy, AI is a little bit challenging in the same, it seems that it's not really a good thing when we think about the ecosystem. I know you said you love nature, and then you had so much analogy about it, but what do you think? Tell me a little bit more about that. This thinking that AI is really not, I will say, it's really not helpful for our ecosystem. What do you have to say about it?
Okay, so when we say ecosystem, that is when I say ecosystem, and like I said, let me correct myself. I said AI ecosystem. So that is how any AI. So if you go and Google it, a AI ecosystem, you can see very complex ones. You will see one that has law, you see one that has HR, but the most simpler one is the one I gave you. The ecosystem is just three things. You have
the cup, the gas,
the gas,
and the wood,
the car, and then
and the
wood.
is the problem.
So the gas is basically the input to the car. And then the car will mess around with the gas to make it move. And then it will solve the problem, which is basically to move on a particular road. Now, your question. So let me get back. So I just want you to know that that's a simple AI ecosystem, just specifically for AI. Now, your question is a little bit different from that. That ecosystem you're talking about is different from the ecosystem that your question. So I want to make sure that I understand your question.
Yes.
You're now saying that we have this AI, and that is not really how do I see it as solving our own personal ecosystem?
So thinking about like a big computer, because they were saying that, okay, we have this little computer, but thinking about the big room with a large computer and all that affect our ecosystem as a human being.
Okay. So that is what I thought you said. So first of all, let me first start with AI. So as I got into AI, the one thing I noticed is the people who designed AI sat down and say, and this is how I said, we have all these problems. We don't know how to solve it. I don't know who decided, and maybe me just reading the history of the solutions and all these mathematical theories. I think way back from the 50s, somebody thought about it and said, how is this a solution? And when I say how is this a solution, it's more like, because if you look at AI, and I tell people, AI, we're just mimicking. AI is about mimicking. It's about copying. And what are they copying? They are copying nature. They are copying nature. If you just put it in your mind that anything that you see in AI, they've copied nature, you will getly understand what I'm saying. So neural network is mimicking the neural system, the system of dropping hot and cold. Fuzzy logic is about mirroring or mimicking the human brain, how the human brain thinks. Genetic algorithms is about mimicking reproductive system. Which other one? Ant colony is about mimicking how the ants get their food. What else they have? Swarm particles is about mimicking the schools of fishes in the sea. So there are so many of these, and I'm going to come back to analogies of this. Like I said, remember I said how many, like the way we have the cars, we have different types of cars. I'm going to go from there to an handyman. You know, when you call an handyman to your house, what do you see? You see him carry a belt. He has all different types of tools, right? And those different types of tools are just think about it. He has this screwdriver, the plier, this jackhammer or whatever, those all different types of tools. That is how AI is. Those methods, those really little tools, those things I've just called, like machine, or we call, okay, so when you hear them as machine learning, but really, to the detail of it, it's going to be like neural network, Kaonen, self-organizing man. I know that you're like, what are those? And like genetic algorithms, they're like ant colonies, they're like swarm particles. These are more like tools. And where did they come from? They're like tools to solve problems. And so what the people have done is say, well, let's see. The rain will rain and it will cause flooding, and then the sun will come down and then dry the rain, and then it will go into something like an osmosis or whatever and go back to heaven and then come back. And that's what the people had done. It's like basically said, I would like to predict how hot this thing is. How will I be able to predict it? Is by really touching it, right? So they're now teaching the computer to touch that hot thing to make a decision. And so they really mimics our neural system to say, if this neural system can mimic how hot this cup is, we can also teach the computer to detect, how hot a cup is. And so they figured out the neural system. They teach the computer how to detect. And now they're like, wait a minute, if we can detect that is a problem, we can also give it other types of problems. That's not a cup. That's not a hot cup. And hence, neural network was born. Is now neural network. Reproductive system. We came out and we say, oh, we got reproductive system, right? If you hear, I want to go back to my biology. I think it's Gregor Mendel or something like that. This guy who talked about reproductive system being survival of the fittest. Have you ever heard of those? Survival of the fittest. And this is where you have the sperm and the egg. And when you have the egg, the sperm swims down to the egg, and only one can really fertilize it, right? Yeah, that's how genetic algorithm does. So that we have something that creates just genes, just sperms. It just automatically brings a lot of them. And then what do we do with that? We take our problems, we create the problem, and we say, which one will solve this problem out of everything we've listed, and we're running on the computer. So we run like a computer. We create or generate computer sperms, and we have an objective function, and we say which one will have a solution to this problem. That's going to be the best solution. And they will tell you the solution is either one, many, or a very unique one. It would be the best one. And how do you use that? Basically, how do you use it in optimization solutions? Optimization is how can I get from here, DC, to California without taking 2 flights? I want a direct flight, and I will be able to get there within 1 hour. And I want to only go. I don't want to touch any other airport. Think about the airport system. This is what they do. Optimization. You have optimization. How can I get all this project done within so much time without this? How can I be able to optimize scope, schedule, and time within a project? I want to do a project within 2 weeks and be able to get it done. So somebody had figured out that nature, if God, and that's why you hear play God, if God could find solutions to the problem, we too can mimic what God does and find solutions to our problems. Did I give you an answer?
Yes.
I feel like we're in class.
We need to come back. We need to come back.
I feel like we should be taking notes. I feel like we.
Did I bombard your brain within 30 minutes?
Listen,
we didn't even. Yes,
I am on another level. I'm sorry. I'm on another
did
level of AI entirely.
Ma'am.
You don't feel like what?
A whole nother level. I'm like, okay. A whole nother level. But I love how you mentioned, like as you're listening to what people are teaching you, you're hearing from the Holy Spirit is downloading how he wants you to interpret it, which also helps you then give it to other people in a digestible way that makes sense to like regular people like us, right? Like, and so like as you're talking, like we can feel your excitement, like we can feel like this stuff.
Energy
like this
and
is
everything.
yes, this is your thing.
I struggle. I can tell you. Think about it. I mean, if you have a gap in education, think about it. I was young going. If you are in a mathematical science class, you know what it means to study and to read and to do all those calculus and to do all these. So my nervousness, I was just in there praying and saying, Lord, I don't know how I'm going to go back. After a child, think about your first child, 6 hours of labor. Think about 12 hours of work every day for 4 years. And now I'm going back to school, going to study. You know what I'm talking. Going to study, and not just study anything, not just read anything, but studying calculus. I've not done that in like 10, 15 years. I can see the statistics, I can see the probability, but the calculus was the one that screwed me because I mean, if you know, I told you fast Fourier transforms, I told you all these mathematical things, and it's like, God, sir, I'll be with you. I was like, okay. So when I went there and they're doing all this calculus, I'm thinking, Lord, what is this? Like, never mind, I'll take you through it. And he started explaining it to me in lay terms. Like, wow. So it was easier for me to digest. It was easier for me to. So, when people are talking now, I just look at them. I'm like, what is he talking about? And then when I chow it down, I said, like, this. They look at me like, how she know that? How she know that? Is she for real? Is she a black woman? She not a black woman. She know more than me, So I sit down because, and that's why I tell you, I knew AI through the Holy Spirit. And when I was, after 10 years, I finished at the patent office. One day just came and I was just crying like, how could I have known this knowledge? I could not have known the knowledge. Not in any, there would be no way I would have known this knowledge. So it's a knowledge that was downloaded to me by God. And so I am humbled that I'm being recorded, I'm being told this. But what gives me that humility is saying, God, I really want to share what you've given to. There'll be a time that that if we are not careful, AI with this technology, it's so evasive and so it's everywhere. What's that? Ubiquitous. It's everywhere. That some people will be so AI dumb. You know what I mean? AI dumb. It's like you're just going to be handed what they give it to you. You just handed it to you, and you don't know what they're doing. And so every day I look at this as a channel or a place to say, you need to know what you're doing when it comes to it. You need to know. I was telling someone 2 weeks ago, I said, if you are not careful, AI can take us slavery. It will be worse than slavery that our great grandparents went through, or whatever those generations went through. And I wasn't here in the 60s. My parents told me the story. My mom is 80. She's going to turn 81 by His grace. I was born in the 70s, thank God, early 70s. So I skipped the 60s. I skipped Martin Luther King generation. But I don't want to be sitting down here where I see my grandchildren educated and they can't get a job. Why? Because a machine told them they can't get a job. And I'm like, what is that machine? Let's get there. Let's go there. Let's go explain the machine. Back in those days, our parents would be like, you can do what? Let's go, But for me, I look at me and say, what machine told you can't get a job? Let the machine figure it. Let the machine tell me, Now it will be like you going to court and go defend it. Can you even defend what you don't know? To defend what you don't.
I feel like we need to have a series. I feel like we just scratched the surface of even understanding AI. As you've described it, I mean, and I'm still stuck on this, how the Holy Spirit like speaks to you. Because imagine if all of us operated in what God has called us to be, and He speaks to us in ways that we then connect it to whatever our purpose is and take that to the world. Like, I'm still stuck on that. It's like I'm still stuck on.
I know. So when I go to conferences and I start answering questions, people just look at me in awe. Like, can it be possible? Can it ever be possible? Yes, it is possible. It is very possible. As a matter of fact, one of the things I didn't go back to research, because if I go back to research, it's not like going to be crazy, but I know I'm going to get more expected than what it is. As a matter of fact, there used to be a time that I said, I want to go to research because I had an idea of what I wanted to do. And I still have the idea, but I'm like, you know what? I want my children to grow up, and then I'll figure out what I would do with that. But when with the rate, okay, so if we talk about AI and say we're looking forward I said, we don't even know where we're coming from. Some people don't even know how they got here. So, like you said, you just knew 2 years ago. I told you I've been working on AI since 1998. That would give me 16 years. Was that 16 years? So 26 years. Yeah, 26 years.
Well, yeah.
16 years in the federal government, 10 years before that. Now, what I knew in 26 years, you said you just knew 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago. Now, if I tell you what I knew in 26 years and what you know in 2 years, do you think it will be comparable? No.
No, ma'am.
No. My daughter finished a computer science degree in December, and she's talking about generative AI. And I said, girl, let's get to it. This was not in December. She came last year. And she's saying, Mommy, let's try this thing. We bought in computer. And so we got the computer and she got it downloaded. And she's like, I didn't know how she said it. She's like, I want you to, I'm African American. I want you to design my hair. And don't think got her hair out. I was like, there's something in there. How could they tell you the kind of hair that you're going to do? And I'm thinking, we need to figure it out. And I was going to dig into it, right? I really did. I was like, that thing got a soul of its own. Lord, Holy Spirit, tell me what it got, because you the one who taught me this AI. And then I started taking the classes and, went to sit and take the classes, only to realize that years back, my dissertation was basically the background to that generative AI they're talking about. And I'm like, oh, okay. I said, but a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know how this works. And since they don't know what it works, what it happened is they created another layer on what I did, or what at the time, what we thought we did. Nobody knew that it was going to come this way. But the problem about it is the hallucination. People are not taking the hallucination seriously. Okay? People are not taking it seriously when they use it. And the problem I noticed, if you look at, so let's go back to the AI ecosystem. When we go back to the data part, we said it's gas. Well, data is another different type of gas, right? You need to know how data affects us. So when you say data, so if I tell you 2, the number 2, it's data. But if you have 2 written over 10 pages, just written 2, 2, 2, and then you sit back and you look inside of it, you will see a new, different way of looking at 2. Because you now look at it, because it's written on a paper, typed, and it's just 2. If it was written, let's say you have black, different colors of 2, you will see a pattern. Over time, you will start seeing patterns. You see that maybe you will see a squiggly, or you will just see things coming out. Maybe you have 2, maybe you have purple colors, red colors, green colors, yellow colors. You will start seeing some different types of 2s, because you have 2s written all over the page. And this is where, talking will not make justice to being a professor writing on the board. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it will not make justice, but you will understand. If you follow me, you will understand it. So if you have 2, maybe in red colors, in purple colors, in green colors, in different colors, and then you have a lot of them on the page, you will start seeing patterns. You will start seeing maybe one is written, one is in, maybe they are clouded together. You can see maybe all the greens are together, or you just see a different type of patterns, because now you are back off of the screen and you're looking at it. And that is what data does to you. You can see different types of patterns in data when you have a lot of it. Okay, so that is why a lot of people don't understand what AI is. Because when you look at the data is about information. So let's say we're talking about, I heard the white collar jobs is when you have a white shirt and you go to work every morning, right? White collar jobs. When did Black people start having white collar jobs? You see, you're thinking, because you cannot remember when, right? Because we've always had a history of slavery. And then from history of slavery, we went to blue collar jobs, right? So when we look at what I would call, I'm not saying it I'm being colorblind here. So if we look at the Black history, if I say white collar jobs was way back in the 60s, let me even say 1970. Let me just put that 1970, because in the 60s, we knew that we couldn't even sit in the bus, right? We couldn't even sit in the bus where a white person sit. So at that point, we could not say we had a white collar job. Am I correct? It was blue collar job. Now we want to do hiring. So as long as I've been in this country, I remember the one president who had the highest number of jobs with African Americans in white collar jobs was Bill Clinton. And it was in 1993 when I came. In 1990, he went 8 years. And it's written, if you Google it, he's the #1 president who had a lot of jobs. And when he had a lot of jobs, there were a lot of African Americans. Why? Because he created something they call a quota for all those companies, that if you didn't hire this quota, you'll be fined. So they were forced to hire minority. And now they had a definition of minority, because we thought minority was our race, right? Now they had the definition of why women being part of minority. Did you remember that?
Wow.
So if you have a data, and like you said, we just scratched the surface. And sometimes when I get into it, especially when I get into some argument with some people, they say, Jesus, is this you or somebody else? I'm not someone who I try to be as quiet as possible, but when you get to my touch points, you see me come out real full, like in my whole regalia, like, So so when we talk about, because when I get the data and I get the facts and I start pushing on it, then you know that, oh, this guy is not joking. So when we get into that data, so when Bill Clinton stated, like, okay, if you don't have this many minorities in your jobs, you are going to start paying a fine. Then we got what we call a definition of what minority is. And that is when white women became minority. Because before, white women was not minority. White women was in the majority. We only had, what we had was white and black. And we didn't have Hispanics then, because Hispanics, all it was white and black. And Hispanics were not white, Hispanics were not black, they were white. But when the real white Caucasian people realized that the Caucasians or Latinos were taking over their jobs, they now decided that, okay, we have Latinas and we have Caucasians, and then we have, right? And then it was now split nicely, like Asian American, Hispanic, Latina, this, So we now knew minority, white women was part of minority. Good. But remember, white women always had white collar jobs. They were just promoted to the high level, but they had white collar jobs. But black women never had any white collar jobs, because most of them were really single women, because most of them, their men were already messed up and we were in dysfunctional relationships. It's like a woman will have child with 3 men, and she will have to go to work, come back. So when you have a data like that, how would you want to say a machine will look at a job? You are going to have a machine, an AI model, look at a job and going to look at it and say, oh, this black woman is qualified for that job. What kind of data do we have as black women? Are you getting me? As black women. So think about this. So when you look at a white guy, he has data as way back as 1800s. Okay, that's too much. That's too far. 1910s, 1900s, 1920s, 1930s. They have that data that back. So look at a black guy. Yeah, a few. Look at a white woman, a few. But we black women, not only, when I mean black, not only African women, just black in color. Not only African women, not only Hispanic women. I mean, not only Asian women from the Caribbean, women. When I mean women of another color. It doesn't matter. African American, African, Asian women, whatever it is. Women with a different color that's not white. When can we say we have jobs that are white collared jobs in the US, and we can have our data back to the 19 whatevers? Now, if we use that data, whatever data we have, we use that data and we put it in, and we say we're having machine hire people. Are you going to have a chance? What is the probability that a black woman will get a job that she's really qualified for? Do you have a chance? What is your chance?
Very small.
So yeah,
those are the big issues that
Mm-hmm.
people don't
That's a
see. People don't see
mm-hmm.
that what, think about me. I'm just
It's like the
one
other
person.
side. It's the other side of AI, right? Like the way you're describing it. Like, you know, that's deep though. That's
That's not going to only affect us as us, but our children and
yeah.
grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not careful, so there's a way. So, and this is when I get into the technology of it, because you see, when you're dealing with AI, funnily enough, when you're dealing with AI, you have to know both the technology and the management and the policy and everything to it. You have to merge it all together. Unlike when we're in IT, which I was, they can be doing IT here, they can be doing the policy here, the management can be all scattered. AI, you can't do that. So what happens is, if we allow it, the people want to run AI like IT. And I stand and I say, no, we can't do that. You can't do that. No, no. And that's when my full caliber comes out. I'm like, no, no, we can't do that. That's not IT, it's AI. We cannot have the policy that way. Some people doing the policy differently. Now, another thing, and a word came out, it's called siloed. When you have silos, IT was basically a siloed technology. They can do the management there. They will be doing the policy in the White House. Then another person will be doing some management. Some people will be running here and they're like, who made these decisions like that? Well, it came from up top, That's what they say we should do, and that's how we're going to do it. You can do all of those. In IT, in AI, you can't do that. And the word that comes in AI is collaboration. It's a collaborative technology. So if you have an AI technology, an AI project, and you are not part of that AI meeting, you need to stand up. You need to tell them, look, this meeting is not complete because I'm not there. I'm not there. If I'm not there, that meeting is not complete because this is a collaborative technology. And if I am an American, I need to be in that meeting. And people are like, it's confidence. Oh yeah, confidence. This is one technology that wants to make that actually makes every individual important. Because if you are not there, you are in that data. And if you don't show up, you will be cut out of the data. So, and I'm going to tell you how this works. So, now this is the technology. This is the technology part, the mathematical part that nobody, like I said, those things I've done when I was a little girl and I grew up, and it was like, So when you have a data has to follow something they call a normal distribution. If you've heard of those. A distribution, you have different types. You have exponential distribution, you have all sorts of distribution. But normally it should follow something you call a normal distribution. Now, on a normal distribution, you have two ends. You have so let me explain how a normal distribution is. If you have a class, maybe, when you were in elementary school, in high school, you have a class. There are some people you just know they're not. They're not too many. They're just not, right? Maybe 3 people, maybe a class of 40 or a class of 50. At least 3 people, they are not. And then another 3 people, they're just dummies. They don't know what's going on in the class. They're just dummies. You ask them any question, they're like, huh? When did you say that? They're just dummies. It's true. This is what we, this is, it's so interesting because I learned my math in Nigeria where we're all Africans and African. And so when I come here, I tell people I'm colorblind. I don't know what color is. And when I say I'm colorblind, they're like, she's black, she says she's color. I'm colorblind. I'm talking about blue, green, yellow, and then I'm like, you can scream, you can do whatever you like because I learned math I didn't learn math in a racial, in a racial environment. I learned math in a all African environment. You know what I mean? So it did. I remember when I was in elementary school, I had someone who sat beside me in class. He was from London. He was white, and he was a white male, and we were best friends. So it didn't matter to me. I actually learned racism when I came here in '93. What is that? So it makes me colorblind, and especially as a mathematician, makes me totally colorblind. So when you're in a class, like I said, you have at least let's talk about 50 people to make it round. We have 5 people that are just nods. When you ask them, they know what's going on in the class. When they do a test, they are 100. If they're not 100, they're 95. That's their lowest score. Those 5 students. Then you have 5 students. They're just dummies. You know what I mean? They're dummies. When you go to the class, you ask them a question. Oh, no. Have you ever seen the kid like that?
Yes.
Did they teach us? Yeah, did they teach us that?
Yes.
Where were you? I was in class.
Mm.
Do you know the meaning of ABC? Remember they taught us. Let me look at my notes. It's in my notes. 5 people like that in the class. So that's like 10 people. So that's 10 people. And then I said a class of 50. So that's 10 people we talked about. So 40 will be in the middle. And when I say in the middle, they're not, they're average, well-rounded average. And so there's a research that says any population or any gathering, you will have you should at least think of a normal distribution. One on the tail end of the best, one on the tail end of the worst, and the middle in there. So did you understand that? Did you understand? You can see a picture of what I did, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to apply what I just said to our situation, our problem of race and employment. So can you say from 1970, I'm picking 70 because I was born in 71, so 70. From 1970 to now, you can think about when Black women where would they be? Black women, where would they be? Would they be on the dumb part or the naughty part of white collar jobs? Which part? Or would they be in the middle?
From 1970, I feel like they would be till now. Myrna, what do you think? I feel like they would be.
How many in population? Would they be on the naughty part, or on the brilliant part, or in the middle part? I gave you 3.
They definitely would not be in the brilliant. I don't even know that they would be in the middle. I think people think that they would be in the middle though, with things that we feel like we have now. But I think they would be in the people that are scratching their head, the people that don't.
Mana, what did you think?
So I came here in 20 years ago. But I'm a Generation X. So I think that women in this category are still struggling. That's what I will say.
So they will be on the scratching head.
Mm.
I came here in 1993. That would be 31 years. Would that be 31 years now? 31 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They're still in that category. They've not left that category.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in that scratching head category, that's where they are. So if we take the population of people, and you're saying it, I'm not really taking the data out now. We're just looking at the way we are, right? And I'm very sure when the data comes out, that's how it's going to come out. We're still in the scratching head. Oh, if you ask them, do you know you have to have a mentor? Mentor? What is that? Oh, really? Do you know the difference between a mentor and a sponsor? Do you know the difference between a mentor and a sponsor? Lavonya.
A mentor and What's
and
the
a sponsor.
difference?
You see, that is one of the things of a blue collar.
I think a mentor inspired you as you're doing it, and a
and a
sponsor
sponsor.
just like, just feed the need, I would say.
You see, yeah. So what I asked, the questions I asked are levels. When you're going to the boardroom, to the executive, do you know that a sponsor should be there to be fighting for you? Oh, you see, you're saying who? So we're still on the people scratching the head on the
Yeah, because when I think of sponsor, like I think when you go to a conference and they just give you something. It's like you give something
but when you're going
maybe
to
their name.
when you're going to the executive level, don't you think
Right.
you're going to need a sponsor? I didn't even know what a sponsor was until one somebody told me that, do you have somebody fighting for you? Fighting for me? Huh? Somebody has to be fighting for me. I mean, I know. So I saw many scratching our heads right there. So now that I've told you what it is, we all agree that we're supposed to be on that tail end, right? It's called a tail end. They are called tails. Is either on the tail end on your right or on the left. So on my right, which is your left, on my right, on the left, but on the tail ends. Now, what happens is, mathematically or statistically, when we want to do something, we cut the tail ends off. So we cut it off. Because why are we cutting it off? They're insignificant. If they're not there, we won't miss them. Think about it. We cut it off. We cut data off. That means, do you know what that means? That means do you know the implication of cutting those off? If I think about it, you're in a class, and I take the 3 good people in the class, I take them out. I take the 3 bad people, I take them out. And I'm going to make a decision of the class. I'm going to make a decision of the class based on the regular people. What happens? What happens? That means the ones that are naughty. I mean, the ones that are naughty are not affected. But the ones on the tail end, what happens to them? They'll be slaves. Whatever I say is what goes to them for them. Right? The ones in the middle were the ones who made the decision. They're going to be average. They're going to be average. So if let's say I did a test and they're all, 6, 7, 5, 3, 2, no, not 3, 2, 5, 6, they score between 5 and 8. Majority of them, by the time I do the average, they will come out at 5. But those nods, they came out at 10. They're going to pull the 5 to about 8 because they all came out at 10. That's how strong they are, right? They're going to pull it to but the ones that are at 1, 2, 3 will not have a say. They will fail the class, literally fail the class. So the only way is for me to add them so that they can bring that 8 down to either 5 so that they can keep up, right? That is mathematical theory. Now, let me now I just did a class theory, a class example. Let me now pull it up to the whole economy of us here. The only way, because if they cut you out of it, that means they cut you and they cut the other tail end. That means you cannot keep up with the regular. You'll be in US struggling, but you cannot keep up. You will still be under the rich are getting rich and the poor are getting poor, even though you're rich. You could be rich, but you will still be the rich are getting. You will just be struggling for no reason. Why? Because the people who made the laws are in the middle. And you've already been cut out. You are cut out because normally what we do is we cut them out. We cut them out. So if you're sitting on the board, you better be sitting down like, don't cut me out. I am here. I am representing me. Not me. Me, myself, I, and my generation. And my children and my grandchildren. You better be sitting on those boards and be telling them, don't cut me out. be running after the policies and make sure they don't, if they cut it out, it's against the law. You just cut me out. And those are things that you need to stand up for.
Wow. One of the things we like to do is ask people what makes them an unregulated leader at the end of the interview. And I feel like this entire conversation has described what makes you an unregulated leader. Like we could listen to you talk all day. You know, like, you have so much knowledge, so much information, so much passion for the things that you're talking about, the people that you impact. I mean, it is, we didn't ask you that. We asked you one question. One question. And we have
Yes.
all this information.
Mm-hmm.
Myrna, what you
And
was gonna say?
yeah, and the beauty of it, it's like, we were trying to do this series about AI and technology, and then your analogy, you bring us to the practical. You
Mhm.
bring us to the reality, and you give us so much awareness that we can only say thank you. And are you coming back again? Because this is so good. Thank you so much.
This
Thank you
was
so
so good. This was so good. We really appreciate your time. We do want to have you come back again because I feel like there's so much more. I feel like we gotta have like topics, like we can have a whole hour series, and we're only gonna talk about this one topic, right?
That's it.
Because
And
it's just too much.
I think it's more like water, when you have a river flowing and it's just going in different
Yeah,
dimensions.
yeah.
So when people say they want to talk about AI, I just look at them, it's like, what do you want to really talk about?
But
It's a big
you
field.
see, we didn't know, right? Like we didn't know either.
A
But
lot of
even
people
having,
don't know. It's like they're following the crowd. And so
yeah.
when they're following the crowd, it's like, hey, it's good, it's nice. I'm not saying it's not nice. Am I affected? And are you thinking about how I'm affected? Because if you don't
Mm-hmm.
think about it, you don't want the stone to be set. When you're building a house and
Mm-hmm.
you have a foundation all set, it will be too
Mm-hmm.
late. You better start talking. And
Mm-hmm.
and 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 we need to make ourselves
Yeah,
awareness. We need to
yeah.
not only us, our children, our friends, our
Mm-hmm.
community. Remember when you were
Mm-hmm.
talking, I said, are we talking about AI issues that affect our community? Or you want to,
Mm-hmm.
I know, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's nice. AI is nice. It's good. I've seen it. I've enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was, I think I was 18 when and now I don't dream as I used to when I was young. Um, I had a dream and I had my whole vision of what my dream is. So at 18, I know I was be working for the government. At 18, for the US government in Nigeria was when I knew that. So
Wow.
the main reason, in 93 when I left, as a matter of fact, there was a political unrest in Nigeria. I told my dad, I'm going to Nigeria. I'm going to the US. What is it? It's like, I'm going, I'm ready. And so when I came, I knew, it's like I knew where I was going and what I was going to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I got the job, I was applying to the US government and I wasn't accepted. But when I got it, I knew, yes, this is really
This is it.
when God wants me to be in. And when
Mm-hmm.
I got in, I was like, wow. And so as a matter of fact, when I talk to my boss, I tell my boss, I say, I'm a woman of God. And I said, this is what the Lord told me to say. And I'm just going to say directly how, right now, right here. And I'm just going to tell him that. And he says, okay. And he was like, okay, we need to figure that out. I don't want to say, when you work for government, it says church and state, and they're different. But in my case, I try to be very diplomatic with it, very, very diplomatic. You wouldn't even hear me talk about church. You hear me talk about, talk about things that want to get into religion or anything. But when the Lord puts it in my heart, I'll just say, the one thing I would say is, Lord, how do you want me to, how do you want me to speak it? Because, and he has been very, very, the Lord has been very, very nice to me in that sense, because he has given me the right words at the right time to say at the right time. So as a matter of fact, when I started this, I felt the leading of the Holy Spirit is like, the Lord's like, give it straight the way it's going to, so that when people hear my word, they would understand what it meant. So, I'm glad that I'm able to. I don't mean to come up and say it's bad. It's not. It's not. It's not like AI is bad. AI is really good, but we should not close our eyes. Get carried away with the good and not pay attention to that, to
Yes,
this
the other
portion
side.
that's very, very important to us. So we need to pay attention, especially when policy out there. And because I was telling someone, I said, there are portions of that policy. If the policy is not written right, if we have a policy and it's not implemented, we're in trouble. If it's implemented and not monitored, we're in hell. So, and the three has to be together. So you can have a policy. You can have a policy and the policy can be wrong. So you have to make sure that you have to know what you're doing with the policy. Then that's one. Then you can have a policy and not implement it. You have to be there to monitor and implement it. So that's two. Then you have these two and you think you have to monitor it. You have to look at it. Because there's something they call drift. That's another story entirely. So when you have drift, so the first one I talked to you is about bias. The first one that I didn't use the word bias, but really that's bias. In practical terms, that's bias. So the other one is drift. Those are two major ones that we need to watch, because when things drift, we need to monitor it. So the moment it's drifting, we're like, hey, this is drifting. We need to either replace this system or we need to have this system doing. The mistakes we make is the people. Okay, so by education, I am a system scientist. I'm not really, but my specialization is in AI systems. Why I chose AI systems at that time, I don't know, but I know it must be the Holy Spirit telling me pick AI systems. There were so many systems I could have picked, but why AI systems, I didn't know, but I picked it then. And this was 2000 and, when was that? 2004. 2004. So when I told somebody I have a PhD in AI systems, they're like, what year was this? I said 2010. Were there even AI in 2010? Was there even a degree there? And so I tell them, I'm not only I'm a system scientist, so I look at everything as a whole. I look at the vision. And it's not like I have any power. I have no power of my own. Have you heard of that? I have no power of my own. I don't have anything. I don't know anything. I didn't know why I picked it. I was just like, this would be interesting. Lord, what do you think? Yeah, I'll pick it. And that's how I picked it. So, so we need to look at it. What?
You're very humble, Dr. Ola. Tell us a little bit about Joyful Tidings, because I saw that you created, and I was like, I could not let you go without you tell us a little bit about those young girls building robots.
So that came out of, and I think this is the third time I will talk about it. That came out of a painful experience, very, very painful experience. So I have two sisters. I'm the first daughter, first child. I have two younger sisters, and we've always been, I should say we've always been a trial. But my second sister passed, and then not only do I have two sisters, I have two brothers. But fortunately, my third, my third was we were doing paperwork for all of us to be in the US. I was waiting, and cut the long story short, she got sick and she passed. And not only did she passed on the very day I was defending my colloquium, which is, you know how that feels, Dr. Douglas.
Yes, I do.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So not only did she passed on the day I was defending, I was doing colloquium. And I didn't know. So I had gone to the colloquium. Everybody was like, congratulations. Inside of me, I just couldn't feel the happiness. I just felt, and I remember my husband was saying, they're even saying hi to you. You're not even saying hello. I said, I don't know, something fell. Something dropped from me. I said, I don't understand. Something dropped from me. He said, what could have dropped then? You should be happy. People are failing colloquium. So when they would come, I said, hi, thank you. But it wasn't deep down. You could tell. So when I got home, my youngest brother, or my younger brother, called my husband and said, called my husband. And the moment he called my husband, I said, which one died? Is it my dad or my sister? And my husband said, your sister.
Wow.
I was so angry. As a matter of fact, as angry as I was, I think I threw the chair, dining room chair, and it missed my daughter. I could have injured her. And when that happened, I was like, thank God, thank you, Father, that I will not look at the second child of mine with a scar on my face. It narrowly missed that, but I thank God. I was so hurt, very hurt, because I was expecting her, but she passed on, and every day that she passed, say about a day, I would cry for like days, every day for 7 years, and then on the 8th year, I said, Lord, and I think that was let me see, I think that was 2014. I lost her in 2007. So the 7th year, I said, Lord, will I keep on doing this? This is 7 years. Will I keep on crying? And and the Lord inside of me, I said, open the Bible. I opened the Bible and look 4:18. If now I knew, then I didn't know it. Often I think now I know look 4:18, and I think it's also Isaiah 9 something. Maybe Isaiah 9:3. But look 4:18 says, I have delivered you. I have to announce the delivery of the poor, the whatever it is, or I can't remember word for word. I have anointed you to preach to the poor, to the captive, to let the captives go free, and if you can read everything. So at that point, I said, Lord, so what? He says, well, you can create something in our honor. And I said, what would that be? And the Lord spoke to me about a nonprofit, and that is how that nonprofit was born. And right there, it says in that scripture, it talks about glad tidings, and the Lord said, joyful. So that moment, so it was dedicated to her as a girl, as a woman, and it hurts. It's painful because she had just finished her degree in physiotherapy, which I was waiting so earnestly. You know how those massage therapists, so waiting so earnestly. I love massages a lot. I was like, I have a sister who's going to massage my back and all those nice, beautiful oils, But she's gone, and she's gone to be with the Lord. I had to move on. And so the Lord wanted me to start that. So I started, and I didn't really even start. I just created it and made sure that the day that she passed was the day it started, like that very day. And I think it was December 5th, 2014. I defended December 5th, 2000. Was it 2007 or 2008? 2007. Oh yeah, 2007. What had happened too was I was expecting a baby, unplanned baby that I didn't know that I didn't know that I was expecting a baby. So happens to be 6 months exactly to that date I gave birth to her. So she died that day. She died that day. 6 months to it was I had just given birth. So I just had a baby. June, my birthday is June 18th. My sister's birthday is June 15th. All my daughter's birthday are in June.
Wow.
I know. So you can tell that this is the work of the Lord, not me.
Yes.
So I had given birth June 7th of that year. So on December 5th, 2 days, my second child will be 6 months. But I was expecting a baby as of December 5th that I did not know. So June 5th of the next year, I gave birth to that baby.
Wow.
So I have a 2006 baby and I have 2006 baby and a 2007 baby. One is
Wow.
June 7th and one is June 5th.
Wow.
So you can tell that wasn't me. I didn't know. Even the doctor jumped out and says, "How did you do that?" I said, "I don't know. You tell me." I was on birth control. So,
Wow.
Thank you
so
so
and that
much.
is how
Sorry.
Joyful Tade was born. So when he now got born, and I know, I have 3 girls. So, and they were having math issues. So I was like, well, you can be a daughter of a mathematician and be failing math. So I got them down. I've always got them down. They didn't really have math issues. I think my first never had math issues, she out of love of math, I taught her on time. But I think my second had math issues. I think we were having some family issues too. So that my second, I just got her down and made some explanations and she was able to make it in school. So, but what happened is when I created that, um, my daughter went to school and failed. You know how you get she didn't really fail. You know how you go to what they call those things, like math challenge. Every. So my daughter went to school. Her father had done this challenge. I said, "What kind of a challenge is this? What kind of project are you guys doing?" They did like some weird project. I don't know how it is. And I'm like, in this world of AI, you are still doing this project. So, okay, let's see how this project is going to work. So it was just her and her dad. We got down to, I think it's getting faded because it's darker in here. And I think I have to turn on the light. I would have said, hold on, let me turn on the light. So one way or the other, I think there were 30 students. She barely got anything, no gift, nothing. She went there, got a package. She was in middle school. I was really upset. I said, daughter of, 2 professors, fail, didn't get it in this world of STEM. So I was just really, not like too happy. So what I done was I just went ahead and what I did was I told her that no, she came up with the idea that she wanted to do some type of robots. So that summer, there was a lady at my church who was also teaching robots, so it was easier. So she learned the robots, and then she went to school, and at that time, we were like, okay, what are we going to do? So I bought Lego, all these Lego robots and all sorts. And I just told them to start arranging them, start, building them. So she went to school and the teacher was talking about a problem, and my daughter talking about black, brown kids and white teachers, So my daughter says, we can create robots. The teacher is talking about there's a problem about, what they call these things, when you have a garbage dump, and the woman was talking about, people have to go in there and pick, and so a lot of horrible things happen. My daughter being a daughter, being so enthusiastic about robots, says, you know what? We can let robots do it. Why is it feeding? As I moved. We can let robots do it. He said, no, who told you can do that? She's like, yeah, we can do that. We can let robots, says, and who told you that will work? I will make it. So it became a conversation of white and black, white teacher with a black child. And it's like, no, it's impossible. That one says, yes, it's possible. Go back up. And so my daughter came back home and she told me, I said, do you think you can do it? Yeah, mommy, we can build a robot. I said, why not? I'll buy it. What do I have to buy? She said, we have to buy this. I said, you know what? I have an idea. So I bought the Lego stuff. My daughter built the robot. She got 7 engineering awards, went to college at 17, and voila, Joyful Tidings was born. And
Wow.
so not only was she building, her sisters, sometimes at the time, they had Montessori friends. They would come home and they would build. But, I had to work, So we now changed that into not only doing that, I started deciding, I don't think I could have the energy to deal with all these kids and stuff. So I started doing speeches, going around, going to do the speech. And then a Nigerian nonprofit called me over. They said, what do you think about teaching AI to Nigerians? I said, why not? They're my people. Why not? So I went to Nigeria twice to teach them. I was on my way in 2020. And when I heard about the COVID, I said, to your tent, O Israel, I'll be in the US dealing with COVID. Why you guys? I'm not coming to Nigeria to catch COVID and die in Nigeria.
That's
No. So I've not been to Nigeria since 2019. I went. I think they actually called me this year. I said, I need to get something straight before I will go back. They've actually called me in Ghana too. I said, let me get something straight. I think and like I told Miss Lavonya, I have 2 younger daughters that are ready to go to college. One this year, one next year, and I don't want to miss that experience. So I want them to go to college and I still enjoy it. Then I can start traveling and I can start doing the pod series as my
good.
So that is the part of Joyful Tidings. And I'm not doing anything with it, but I'm trying my best to make sure that it grows to the point where
I think that was beautiful. It's really like not only that you were able to honor your sister's memories, but also giving back to your community. Hopefully, this will continue. Thank you so much for taking the time to really have a conversation with us.
So I know
I
you're going to cut a lot of 30-minute series out of it. You can take one
I
question and just cut this
I
one.
know it's an ongoing conversation.
Cut it.
An
And then
We
you
ongoing.
have
have
like
3
6.
shows. We have 3
You have
shows in
like
this
6.
one.
I think you have 6. Instead of 3, you have 6. You be like, okay, this one 30 minutes, this one 30
Yes,
minutes, just cut
yes,
it
yes.
and then add it.
Each one will be its own topic. I mean, its own
Yes.
show. We have to find a good editor. So yeah, this was great. We really, really appreciate you talking to us. This was amazing.
I'm planning to write a book. I told you. I wrote the
Yeah,
book and I wrote the book, but I'm not yet done. But I'm really planning to write it, and I'm planning to write it and make sure that it's
Yeah.
something that you can carry with you, like go to a meeting, you know, go to a meeting, and I want to make sure that you have spaces in there that you can make notes, and you can even insert things in there, make notes, and
Yeah.
so it would be nice to have such a book, and it will have a lot of analogies that you can